I don't know about you guys, but I can literally feel the acceleration right now. Like this curve is so exponential. It's moving so fast. I can just lean my entire body weight into it and it's holding me up. It's kind of like that scene from that movie where that bear is like leaning off of a cliff, but the wind is moving so fast and so powerfully that it just holds the bear up. I'm literally able to go on my computer and do something that's pretty technical. It's not like overly technical, but it's pretty technical. And I don't know what I'm doing. And I don't feel like learning how to do it. So I just go to the AI, I screenshot it, and then I give it back to it. And then it pretty much solves it, and I do what it tells me to do. And I can solve these problems at a pretty good rate without having to extensively learn the thing that I'm trying to solve. And then eventually maybe I'll get to like a little problem where the AI doesn't have the data in its distribution to be able to solve it. And then I basically just go find the documentation for that problem. I feed it to the AI. The AI navigates the documentation, finds the solution, and then solves the problem. Now, with the GPT-5 model that's coming out in just a few months, it's going to have GPT 4.5, which comes out in about a week from now, and the O3 model combined, along with deep research, along with internet access, along with agentic abilities, and along with the projects and the canvas and all of the modalities of OpenAI will be all compressed into GPT-5. So now this thing has tool access. I don't think people really understand the emergent capabilities that these models have whenever they have access to tools. Because just supplying that documentation gets me through the problem I'm trying to solve without me knowing what the hell I'm doing. Whenever the AI can autonomously find that documentation to solve the problem, it doesn't need me in the loop pretty much at all at that point, especially for something like software engineering, where it can test whether it does it correctly or not, because it can run the code. And if it's done wrong, it'll look at the error, iterate, fix it until it does it correctly. And then it'll pretty much be able to spit out anything, and you'll just come over to it and say, oh, there's a few tweaks I'd make here, make these tweaks, and then spit it back to me. And then at that point, you're just fine tuning it and making it polished. And pretty much the entire project is automated by the AI, which is kind of crazy. And we're at the doorstep of that right now. And this statement was made by Sam Altman, and he's saying the same exact thing. He said, imagine an autonomous software engineer where it's as capable as an employee at one of the top companies and has been working there for many years. And then he goes further and says, imagine thousands or potentially millions of these models working in pretty much any single category of knowledge work coming in a not too distant future. I don't think we will all have like organizational AI by the end of this year, just because we might not have the amount of inference compute to serve everybody's models. By beginning to middle of 2026, there's a lot of data centers coming online. So we might actually have enough compute infrastructure to serve like organizational level AI for a lot of people. Like these models will be able to go out and do arbitrarily complex tasks for hours, potentially days, and then you can have like little organizational AI where they can all like queue each other to go out and solve specific things for hours or potentially days, and then they come back to like the CEO model that prompts them to go out again, and then they slowly complete the entire project that you're working on over time. I could see that happening probably by the middle or beginning of 2026. And again, to some people that might sound crazy, but if you really look at the exponential we're on right now, and you just extrapolate it a little bit, even if you're adjusting for a little bit of a slowdown, which partially I am, which I don't think we will actually have a slowdown, but I'm trying to be realistic, so I am adjusting for a little bit of a slowdown. I do think we'll get there in a very near future. And a lot of people are going to hear that and be like, no, man, no way. I'm just going to say we'll wait and see, and I think I'm going to be right. And yesterday, I also stumbled across an interesting interview with Gavin Baker. If you don't know him, he's a venture capitalist within the tech realm. He's very knowledgeable, very wise, and has a lot of experience understanding the technology and the dynamics of the market. Obviously, he's a venture capitalist. But anyways, what he was saying is AI is going to do the same exact thing as the cell phone. And I've also been saying this, where every single device used to be separate. You had cameras, you had TVs, you had all of these different devices that all kind of converged into one thing, the cell phone. AI is going to do the same thing, where you have all of these different software applications that are over time going to be compressed into just one model, the AGI. And we're already seeing the beginnings of that with GPT-5 that's coming out in a few months from now, where literally an entire 25% roughly, maybe it's less than that, but like an entire corner of the online market, the online software market, is going to be compressed into this one single model. And you won't need like half the things that you used to use as far as software goes. Maybe not half, 25% of the things you used to use as far as software goes. And even then, you could make the argument that since it's such a good software engineer, you won't need pretty much any particular like product, a software product that doesn't have a network effect. Like HubSpot, for example, or Salesforce, you don't really need those platforms whenever you have this pretty sophisticated model that you can just tell it to go on the platforms, figure out what mechanisms it's using, and then just make it for yourself. I really don't think that's going to be too hard to do, and potentially about 6 to 12 months from now, maybe less. I really think it's going to be that easy. And let's say by the beginning to middle of 2026, I think probably about 50% of the applications you would ever use are just going to be distilled into one single model. And then potentially by like 2027, all of software, like any single software application you want to use, you won't need to go to any other software. You'll just go to the Oracle, you'll go to the AI, and it'll be able to do all of these complex things, all of these different problems, and you won't need any other platforms. AI is the final version of software, is basically what I'm saying, and that's what Gavin's saying too. Here's a clip of him actually saying that.
Software as a service, replace software. In the same way, if we had been here pre-2007, like I was a gadget guy, like I had my BlackBerry, I had my Nokia flip phone, I had a digital reader, I had my laptop, I had a digital camera, I had an iPod. All of that was consolidated into this. The same thing is going to happen with software. ChatGPT today can already do almost anything that any other piece of software can do that where a human being would relate to it. So in the same way that all these discrete pieces of hardware were consolidated into one iPhone, software is going to be consolidated into this one medium. And its foundation models as a service are going to replace software as a service.
Isn't it extraordinary that, I agree with you, yes, the interface is now going to be talking to your computer, whether you choose to do it with text or voice.
100%.
And that kind of just encapsulates this entire video. Like, all of software is going to be a solved problem in a not too distant future. And even arguably by the end of this year, whenever we do have the AI software engineer agents, as we've been talking about, and as that quote from Sam Altman was describing, if we have that, which is supposed to come in months from now, not years, not even a full year, I'm pretty sure, it's just months at this point, it's hard to tell what software platforms anybody will actually want to use, especially if it's an expensive software platform. I do think software will increase in volume. Software will become this thing that's everywhere in a very near future, like 5 times what it is today. But even then, like, it's hard to tell why anyone would pay $100 per month for a B2B software when they can build the same exact software themselves, but without having to pay for the server costs, because they don't have to manage hundreds of thousands or potentially tens of millions of users. Now they can have it for almost free because they don't have to pay for the server costs. Now, why would anybody use Salesforce? Why would anybody use HubSpot when I can just go to ChatGPT and have it build it for me itself? Because it probably already knows how those platforms work. It has the data in its distribution already. Now it just needs to just have the capability of autonomously building it and be a little bit better, a little bit more reliable, which is teetering on the point of that right now. It just needs a little bit more autonomy. I genuinely think in a few months towards the end of this year, that's going to be a solved problem. And at that point, software as a service is dying at the pace of AI adoption. And then eventually, as Gavin Baker said, we'll have the AGI that just kind of has all of the software you'll ever need into this one model, this one AGI, an oracle. And you won't need any other platforms. That's going to be here sooner than many people expect too. GPT-5s are going to be the beginning of that. Towards the end of the year and the beginning of next year, we'll see more application layers being put into one single model. And then by 2027, as I said earlier, pretty much any type of software application you would want to imagine that is actually useful and not just like arbitrary will be distilled into this one model where it'll just be able to do it. Especially if you play out the roles that AI will be playing in building software by 2027, like these things are going to be spitting out software like crazy that is like dynamically changing, and the platform will be able to switch by just like the models changing on their own. Like it's going to be pretty crazy by 2027. And I don't think people are really seeing that, which is kind of scary. That nobody really realizes the exponential we are actually on right now. And as a human, we don't really see these exponentials too clearly. Like I take 30 steps that way linearly, I just end up 30 steps that way. Take 30 steps that way exponentially, I end up on the fucking moon, bro. Like that's what people are forgetting here. So like 2027, having a dynamically changing platform that changes per the user that's on the platform, because the code can dynamically change and match the preference of the user themselves, it seems very likely. Call me crazy. But let's say this. There could be some possible thing that just prevents all of the scaling from happening. Like all of the exponentials we've been measuring so far could just stop. I don't see that happening. I just don't. But really, the lessons we should be taking away from this isn't like, okay, shit, we're all screwed. It's how can we think more abundantly? How can we use this technology to extend our capabilities and do things that will still be valuable in the future that we couldn't do before? Because there will still be applications online with software involved that will be valuable. It just will not be the ones like just like a simple app or a platform that you're using. It'll be more so something that involves human beings, like a network effect, as I've mentioned before in this YouTube channel. Something like Airbnb will be something that has a moat for a while at least. I don't know, maybe the AGI, whenever we merge all of the software together, maybe that'll even take the role of Airbnb one day. I can't predict that one. I'll say that right now. But it does seem clear that anything that is a simple application is basically done for. I wouldn't say done for, but it'll be dying at the pace of AI adoption over the next coming years. And then pretty much everybody's going to be forced to either build a community business online if they want to build a community, or a network effect type of platform, which is kind of like a community business as well, because a community would only make it more valuable. But other than that, you got to play in the physical world. You got to play in the physical stuff. No more online stuff. Online stuff is going bye-bye. The AI is the final version of software. It's the final version of online services. It's the final version of online digital business, period. And the only online stuff that'll be left is like experiences, whether that's VR or art or social media or community building. Those will be the last things to do online, is like experiences, art, community, stuff like that. Stuff that doesn't seem valuable, but it actually is where we're going. It's actually very valuable where we're going, because there's going to be people looking for that stuff. So if you do want to build something, that's where I recommend starting now. And especially if you get into like the Web3 spaces and you start to implement some like blockchain technology with NFTs and stuff like that. And you can even build like a pretty decentralized community. Maybe you want to build a decentralized autonomous organization. Like those are the things that I'm interested in and what I'm focused on building. That's what I recommend other people to focus on building right now too. The last thing I would build right now, if I was doing anything, the last thing I would build is just a simple SaaS tool, a simple software application, or just like an agency, like a done-for-you service-based business. A community that helps people adopt the technology, I think will have value for a while, but eventually That'll even be something where why would I need help adopting the technology? I just talk to it like a human. Like, I don't need help, bro. That's where people will get eventually, but maybe they want the community for just like the people that are in there. That's going to be where the new moats are. That's going to be the new value, is you're joining a collection of individuals because there's individuals there. And they're all focused on the same problem that you are focused on, whether it's decentralizing the power of AI, or it's cooking food, or it's just creating art, or you're interested in gaming, or whatever. Those communities are still going to be valuable, and they're going to be extremely cheap in the future. Like right now, you'll be able to charge for like, if you're doing consulting, I still know people who charge like $15,000 per client for consulting, right? And that's for a very short period of consulting, like a month. That's still a business model, and it still works. I know people who charge that much, like 15K per month consecutively for years for clients, and they're literally just hopping on 2 Zoom calls per week per client, and that's all they do. Nonetheless, that has a little bit of a moat right now. I see that moat dying very fast. The agency business, I would argue, almost has less of a moat than that, because agencies are more so you're just doing a task, right? You're doing a skill that you are you're on the ground floor doing the skill. That's where AI is starting, and it's building up from there. Like anything that is high leverage decision making with a complex world model, AI is not quite there yet. Like if you had an AI that's a VC, like a venture capitalist or an investor, it's not going to make very good decisions. Just because its world model isn't quite live, it's not real, it's not adapting with the current environment. It's not quite there yet. I think it will be there soon. Right now, it's starting on it's starting on the application layer. Like an engineer or a copywriter or a marketer that is actually doing the ads themselves, those things are going to be saturated very soon. Very soon. And then over time, it'll start to get up to the things that are more like intuitive understandings of the market dynamics and how to play off of those. It's not there yet. I do think it'll get there eventually. It's not there yet at all, to be very clear. So there is still room to have in consulting. I think it'll be dying pretty quick, and then there will be a tiny bit of room and very particular applications, and then that'll be dying very quick. And then kind of everything is just going to be merging into communities, and whether it's a decentralized community with Web3 technology, which is what I recommend building, that's what I'm personally doing. If you do want to join mine, link is in the description below. It's still in the development phases, which is why I'm literally on this school platform. It's $7 per month to join. And then eventually we'll have like our own platform and all that stuff. It's coming pretty soon. But in a not too distant future, like these businesses just are going to play out this way. There is a chance that I'm wrong. I'm not going to sit here and act like I can see the future and I'm like some oracle. But if you play out the logic puzzles and this technology continues to scale at the pace that it is, given the secondary and tertiary consequences of the outcomes of these models, this seems like the most likely and logical outcome. If somebody can bring me evidence that says otherwise, I'm happy to look at it. I haven't seen any. Other than that, I hope this was a helpful, insightful, and valuable video for anybody who is watching. I hope the insights and ideas that I'm sharing actually give somebody some actions that they can take, because that's what I'm trying to do here is like, how can I share what I'm seeing and what I'm taking action on so that you guys can take actions on it as well. And if you want to have like first mover advantage on these insights, or you want to have like direct contact with me, conversations with me, we have Zoom calls in my community where we talk about this stuff with a bunch of other entrepreneurs, a bunch of other people who are adapting and adopting this technology, and people who just want to be on the upper edges of this technology as we go through this revolution, because this is an industrial revolution. This is perhaps one of the biggest revolutions we have ever seen. And it seems like there will be two sides of this revolution, at least in the near term. And I don't know about you, but I would rather be on this side that is playing the game well. So if that's you, there's a link in the description below. Again, it's only $7 per month. The price might be raising pretty soon. I haven't really decided exactly what to raise it to. But if you want to get on $7 per month, you can join and you'll be locked in there. So if we do raise the price, you won't actually have to pay more. You'll just be locked in at $7. And if you want to join it, or if you want to leave at any time, that's also an option, obviously. That being said, I will see you in the next video. Peace.